Baile inolvidable, which means unforgettable dance.
Ah, and well, there was full of dance on the middle of an American football field where he was playing that. A real celebration of his culture from Puerto Rico. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. Because one thing I was just telling Eluned off air is that it made me feel proud to be from our tiny little nation here of Wales, being part of something larger of the United Kingdom. And I know that you've watched a little bit of it on the catch up as well. What were your thoughts when you were watching this Bad Bunny on the TV?
Well, the reason I watched it, of course, is because it made Trump so annoyed. So I wanted to know who is this person who managed to get into President Trump's skin. And listen, I love this kind of music. I'm a big fan. I've spent quite a bit of time in South America when I was really young, and that's where I learned a lot of my Spanish. So I really got into this kind of music. So, but I hadn't come across this guy. So he's massive in the States, apparently. So, yeah, so it's great. But you're quite right. You know, we should all be really proud where we're from and show it off to the world.
Yeah, and to think, what, less than 10 years ago, he was a bag packer in his local supermarket in Puerto Rico. He's gone from strength to strength to strength to that Super Bowl halftime show. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, go and take a look. It was a real celebration of him and his people, and yeah, it just made me feel, gosh, I'm really pleased to be from our little nation here of Wales, which is evolving all the time. Just in our conversations over the last kind of 12 months or so, we've been talking technology, we're talking renewable energies. We really have, well, we're growing with the times, aren't we?
We really are. And, you know, today we've got a big announcement in relation to rail funding. So there's going to be a big announcement later today. So here you go. You've got the little exclusive here on Pure West. But yeah, you know, 14 billion pounds of extra money coming into Wales, which is not a small amount of money, to transform our railway systems in Wales. Because for years and years, to be honest, we've been shortchanged. Under the Tories, we were shortchanged, and we just weren't getting our fair share. So yeah, so I've kind of been very vocal on this, and the poor Prime Minister, every time I've met him since I became First Minister, I've been asking him to correct this. So they went some way towards it in the spending review, but now they've recognised, look, yeah, we recognise this. We're going to give you lots more money, and the great news is that actually the commitment covers Pembroke Dock. And the idea is that we develop Pembroke Dock Station, make improvements to the level crossings there, and also to Milford Haven. And that's 50 million each for those areas. So that's not a small amount of money. And there'll be a new building, new station built in St Clair's in West Wales. So all of this is good stuff and very good for business. It's good for commuters. It's good for the economy. It's good for housing and things. All of those things, I hope, will help to drive economic growth as well.
That's fantastic. There has been, to put it mildly, a bit of upset to do with the funding and what's been drawn for these HS2 projects. So it's nice to see that finally something's coming back, and to us here in Pembrokeshire as well.
Yeah, so, you know, this is recognising the fact that we were really unfairly treated in relation to HS2, and now we're getting our fair share, which is great.
That is great. And well, hopefully it'll lead to a few improvements. If you're Milford Haven to Whitland and Carmarthen, you'll know that it doesn't always necessarily come this way if there's a drop of snow or too much water. So we'll see what the improvements they have. So how have your last 7 days been? Apprentice Week, of course, was last week.
Yeah, so Apprentice Week is always great because it means I get an opportunity to get out and about and to meet apprentices. And the great thing is that we've delivered 100,000 apprentices in apprenticeships in the past 5 years. So that's, you know, we said we'd do it, we've done it. And it was great to meet recently with some apprentices in Pembrokeshire. I was able to go to Leadwood Engineering, and it's great to meet some people there who, you know, are just doing some great work and are going to be key, I think, to the transformation of the economy in West Wales. But also it was great to go meet some people who are apprentices with the local council. And the great thing is, they were training to learn how to be, how to do up the kind of housing and things related to council stock. But the other great thing is that we've just brought in a new construction apprenticeship course. So what it is to start people off at a kind of, to make sure they can go in at a grade where they can go straight basically from school. So, bricklayers earn a lot of money these days, a lot of money. So I hope lots of people be tempted to go into that. Bricklayers, electricians, carpenters. We've got housing targets that we need to meet, and we need people to build them. So all of this is really good for jobs in Pembrokeshire. And what it means is that people don't need to leave Pembrokeshire to build a career. We need to make sure those jobs stay locally.
Yeah, what I love about Apprentice Week is that it highlights the breadth of apprenticeships that are available. Whenever I think of apprenticeships, I'm quite traditional. It's welding, it's your bricklayers.
Yeah.
But actually, the NHS has done wonderful pieces on apprentice nurses going through the ranks as well. There really is a way that you can get practical hands-on experience whilst learning and working through the apprenticeship schemes. It's fantastic.
That's right. And earning, of course, that's the big difference. And it's practical stuff, and people learn in different ways. Some people are happy to put their heads in books and others are not. So why don't we adjust and get people to recognize, listen, we've got an alternative method for you to build your career. And that's why apprenticeships are great. And they're not just for young people, they're for all different ages and all different levels. So you can keep going up in terms of apprenticeships, so that you can get ultimately to a degree apprenticeship. So I'm a great believer in lifelong learning. I think, look, the world is changing pretty quickly, and we all need to adjust and adapt and to learn so we can interact with the world.
Yeah. Louise has been in touch over on Instagram, and you'll be pleased to know you've already asked her a question. Are there any plans for reopening St. Clair's? Oh, she just answered my question. So that's a nice little tick for the box. But Nathan's also been in touch this morning, to do with the 20 miles an hour limit. But you got some update on that for us, haven't you?
Yeah, so we know that this was a big issue, and a lot of people were a bit upset about the way it was introduced. So look, I think when we introduced this as a government, the idea was to introduce it for safety reasons. And the fact is that actually there are a lot of people walking around Wales today alive because of the introduction of that new measure. There have been a lot fewer collisions. You've seen insurance rates come down. So all of those things are positive. But we recognise that in some places that things weren't perhaps appropriate for the road. So we committed to listening when we said we'd introduce it. And that's what we've done. We've asked for feedback. The local authorities have asked for feedback. So there are changes now happening, including here in Pembrokeshire. So specifically around the A40 at Fishguard and Lowertown, and the A487 through Fishguard and Lowertown. They're key through routes. They connect to the port, they connect communities, they carry a lot of traffic. And so adjustments have been made. And I think the key thing is that it's getting the right balance. There've been, for years we've had people in villages saying, we want these speed limits to be brought down. And lots of people are saying, look, in front of my house, I want it 20 miles an hour, but I don't want it going past someone else's house. So it's a difficult balance. So I think it's important we just keep on adjusting and making sure that we keep going until we get this right, until it's appropriate for the circumstances locally. And there's an important role for local people to play here. They've got to contact the council and let them know if what they're seeing locally is appropriate for those local roads.
There you go. So get in touch with the council if you want to have any of those regraded and rebanded. That's always been the case, actually, as well, isn't it? The legislation was put in. There was this uniform sweep which was made, and now it's about readjusting to make it a bit more practical for real people.
Yeah. So lots of councils put in an exception to those, bring it down to 20. Swansea, for example, put in loads and loads and loads of exceptions, and there hasn't been nearly as much fuss there. So every council could have done that, and so it is, because it's not right that there's a determination from Cardiff on what happens locally. It makes sense for that to happen as locally as possible. So it's absolutely right for local authorities to adjust and to adapt and to respond to what local communities want, whilst recognising that safety is important.
Yeah. We started off our conversation talking about Bad Bunny and celebration of culture and heritage. That seems like a nice way to round this off. Stuart, who celebrated his birthday this week and host of the gaming show with Mags Optics, he's currently in California, and he's wondering, will there be any Wales/US international events upcoming for St. David's Day? And of course, you launched a fund here on The Breakfast Show for local communities and, nationwide projects to come alive for St. David's Day. Tell us about what's been happening in the last couple of months.
Well, it's great to hear from your listener in the States. And you know what the fact is that every year, as First Minister, but also as Minister before that, I was sent abroad to celebrate St. David's Day. And I just thought, everybody's celebrating St. David's Day except us in Wales. It's mad. So to be fair, St. David's city where I live, they've really built that up into something recently. But I just thought this is something we should be doing across the whole of Wales. So this year we've launched £1 million fund, and we've encouraged communities across Wales to apply for funding, and it's been really great to see the number of people who've got in touch and have landed some of that money. So there'll be village halls and schools and parades. There'll be music and dance. We've got 5 local projects in Pembrokeshire who have benefited from this money. So Span Arts, based in Narberth, they're delivering Ysbryd Owlad. We've got Pembrokeshire Coast National Park. They've got funding for Taith y Chwedlau, the Legends Parade. We've got Solva Community Council. They're organising this on David's Day. And if you know Solva, you know it'll be a great event. The Bluebirds Foundation with Dathlu Dewi. And then the great thing also is Pembrokeshire College. They're celebrating getting young people right into the centre of things. So I think we should celebrate our National Day. The Irish do it in such a fun way, and I want a bit of that action for us in Wales.
I love that. Fine details there. It was Span Arts, Pembrokeshire Coast National Park Authority, Bluebirds Foundation, Solva Community Council and Pems College will all be celebrating St. David's. And we're lucky here at the top of High Street in Haverfordwest because the St. David's Day Parade with local schools will be marching straight past our door on the Friday before, I believe on the 27th. So we'll be looking forward to that carnival atmosphere, celebrating our patron saint and the Welshness of St. David's Day.
That's right. Let's be proud.
Yeah. How is the next couple of days? Well, you've got a busy day today. You started off talking about this new announcement. I imagine that doesn't come just on a press release.
No. Hey, listen, we've been building up to this for months and months and months. So this has been great. So I'm very, very pleased to see this come into fruition. I've been doing a lot of visiting in Pembrokeshire recently. I've been to visit the recycling plant. Oh my goodness. And well done, Pembrokeshire. You know what? You're the best recyclers in Wales. And Wales, are the second best recyclers in the world. So hats off to everybody. You're making a big effort. And I tell you what, I went to visit the recycling centre in Pembrokeshire. Oh my goodness, it is amazing. State-of-the-art stuff. So really great stuff going on there. We've just had the unions week, and we're very proud of our relationship with the union movement. And it's part of the reason why the UK government has introduced an uplift in the national living wage, so that people on minimum wages, particularly lots of shop workers, are much better off. If you're working full time on the national living wage, you're £1,400 better off, thanks to the introduction of that. So, that's what happens when you get a Labour government who's committed to workers in this country, recognising that, look, these were the people who were there for us in the middle of the pandemic. Lots of people were shielding. They were there on the front line. And, there are lots of them in Wales, about 115,000. So thank you to you guys as well. And it's great to see so many of them are members of the unions, because that's what drives us to consider and to recognise that they have an important case.
Amazing. And looking forward to finding out what your calendar fills up with between now and next Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Breakfast Show with Folly Farm. We started off with an international flavour with Bad Bunny. What second song suggestion have you got for us to play in a couple of moments?
Bruno Mars. I love a bit of Bruno Mars, and I Just Might.
There's a bit of a theme, actually. So dancing was the theme of the Bad Bunny one, and this song is all about trying to find a lady to dance as well. So we'll have a salsa and a little jig together. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Breakfast Show. Look forward to catching up next week.
Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Wake up with Gina and Tom, weekdays on Pure West Radio with Folly Farm.